Helios, but maybe run something more, front to back oriented, team fight oriented, where you can look to, slowly push those team fights instead of trying to use a tempo advantage on the map when you have an extreme top mismatch between Rich and Keen.
Yeah, speaking of which, note that Afrika chose red side. They keep the counter pick for Keen in the top lane. And it's been something that's been working for Afrika, even though the mid game of that last one kind of fell apart after a couple of team fights. Keen got himself into a fantastic spot 2 games in a row. So definitely want to hold on to that. Try to maybe even push that issue a little bit more, maybe a little bit more camping from Dread up in the top side. Really wish he could get his hands onto Lee Sin, but that's not going to happen in this series.
Don't think so. Don't think that's going to happen unless they end up popping off of something else. I mean, the Sejuani is getting ban-worthy nearly, but that's what's so great about this red side for Afrika is if they see the Diana, oh, I love the Aphelios respect. If they see the Diana, they can just once again pick the Sejuani and it's totally fine. But you also have that top counter pick you were talking about, which has been so great for Keen, and I think why Peanut is struggling in some of these games is because Rich is falling so far behind. He will once again pick the Diana, and the Aphelios ban is pretty awesome here because you don't have to deal with the Xin Zhao. It's not a champion that Peanut likes to play. They haven't prioritized it when open, so...
Yeah, this does leave Lucian open. It's kind of sticking out like a sore thumb because... Is Fly going to play the Lucian? Are they going to prioritize that? Are they going to pick Keen's Lucian now? We don't see too much top Lucian nowadays. Fly probably just goes straight back to the Ryze.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ryze can do fine into Lucian, so it's not that terrifying. Now, it can be very powerful in mid-game skirmishes, and there's a lot of things that Gory can do if he gets an early lead. Maybe not per se in the 1v1 matchup in the mid lane itself, not in the laning aspect, but in other aspects. Xin Zhao does get taken here actually instead of the Sejuani this time around. And that also somewhat deters a Lucian pickup here because you're so vulnerable into this champion. It's going to have a lot more power pre-6 than the Diana is in mid lane. It's still a strong pick, don't get me wrong, but it feels less appealing right now.
Yeah, it's very true. And we might see very similar drafts here because once again, we're going to have Aurelia coming through. Yes, Duckdom did pick up the player of the game in the last one, but Gory did finish off the game 8-3. And even though he wasn't dominating, he is still quite the Aurelia player, as Rich can be as well. So don't mind the pick. Looks like they're going to head towards the Leona as well. A little bit more priority onto that support pick as well.
Yeah, no, I like this a lot because both the Aurelia and the Leona are very flexible. The Aurelia can go mid or top, is going to be very powerful in mid-game skirmishes, can side lane extremely well. And Leona is just great into basically any matchup. You have so many possibilities of champions you can pick with it. Her engage potential in the late game, as well as in lane, is just so strong. The Alistar will be the response again. Win rate jumping up a little bit, as we see more late game carries targeted here for Afrika. We'll see if that Yasuo ban comes through once again, because I think it's a realistic one.
Yeah.
Especially considering they didn't pick the Sejuani this time around.
Yeah, and they pick Alistar to kind of shore up that, especially without the Sejuani. So it's definitely an option we could see here. Viego respect once again. After game number 1, they don't want to let Keen get his hands onto that pick again.
Another strong ban here would be the Kalista for Afrika, because that works really well with what Nongshima built. You have a lot of strong combo potential there. So I wouldn't hate that. I think those are the best options. Sylas, though, is an interesting one. It's one of Gory's better champions. Rich did not have a lot of success the last time these two teams faced off against each other. And yes, Sylas is very strong into Alistar, but otherwise, not a lot of great ults with this comp so far.
Yeah.
And no Gnar available, of course.
And I don't think they're going to reach as far as to go Keen Ornn. I think that's kind of going the wrong direction, if you will.
Yeah.
They're going to ban away the Kalista, although this time away from Leo, so the pressure for the Kalista pick was still there.
Yeah. I do like the Kalista for the ban here for controlling the lane. It's a very strong blind pick here where you save the counter pick for top. It's hard to blind pick an AD carry right now when you don't know what Nongshim is going to do. I think Ashe is the best one for the job, though, considering her engage potential, her safety, her slows. Now we're going to find out where this is going. Is it the Yasuo pick again? Are we going back down that rabbit hole of game 1? I hope not, because Afrika have already shown that they're very adaptable at dealing with that. And, you know, they don't have the Sejuani this time around, but still.
Yeah. And it's rough, by the way, for Rich to... Oh, wait. Is Duckdom going to play Draven? No. Looks like we will just get the Kai'Sa. But yeah, note that Keen can also play Ryze. So even though Fly has played a couple of games of Ryze, this is like, I got to pick something that's decent into Ryze, but also can be blind against the other champions that are available for Keen to play.
Good old Xin Zhao top incoming.
Good old Rammus top from Rich. If he played Corki, I'm like, well, that, you know.
You need...
There's no hope.
You need a little bit more AP damage here. But it's blind Kennen, so Gangplank, just the pretty logical end here for Afrika Freaks once again. And we'll get a very similar version to Game 2's draft as we head into this third one.
Maybe they'll go something more aggressive like a Camille.
Camille is another option too. Yeah, I was thinking about that because it can give you a lot of split push power. Plus, Camille is just so strong at skirmishing in the mid game.
In terms of the 3, there's the Camille. The 3 of Xin Zhao, Alistar, Ashe. You can really keep your opponents at a distance, and you have a ton of disengage for the Ashe as well. So I like it. It's kind of putting more potential power into Keen and Fly's split push and just trying to break up some of these Wombo combo engages that they don't really want to fight up against on the side of Nongshim.
Yeah, you also, Hextech Ultimatum could be great into an engaging Aurelia, into an engaging Kennen. If you're positioned correctly to use it, you can really isolate those targets and have a good time. And Nongshim have a comp that is, once again, an evolution of the same style, where you're not looking for Wombo combo per se, but you do have a lot of strong engage options. You do have a lot of initiation. And the Kai'Sa is the next evolution of looking for executions, actually finishing off those single targets that do end up getting caught or do overextend. So I like that a lot. And it's not just going down the same path again. We're not seeing the all-in on the Yasuo or anything like that and going all-in on this sort of aggressive Wombo style, but it is a little bit more... It's a little bit more precise, I would say, this draft, where you're much more oriented around those single picks, but also you can have split pushing with the Aurelia instead of just looking for only engages. But I do like the responses here, and yet again, Afrika's draft feels very catch-all. It doesn't have a lot of holes, doesn't have a lot of weaknesses, scales up very well into the late game. And for that reason, I mean, we have Dread on the Xin Zhao once again. I prefer their draft here. You know, 3 in a row for me. I'm really liking their style here. It's a big change. It's very forward-thinking. They came to this playoff super prepared.
Yeah, I do feel like Rich, especially in game number 2, he struggled a lot with that Gangplank. I'm curious to see how that top lane matchup is going to go. Note the Arcane Comet here for Camille. So very aggressive. It's not like he's going to go grasp or anything like that. No Conqueror here.
Yeah.
Has some poke back potential.
That's another thing that, you know, I'd mentioned before we went to the draft, but Peanut has been so under pressure because of the immense amount of, you know, aggression we're seeing in the top side of the map from Keen and these bad matchups Rich has been forced to play. And once again, if Peanut goes top and then we see another Realm Warp come in from Fly and he gets caught again, like, it just feels like I'm listening to the same broken record over and over and over again in terms of what these comps can do. So Peanut also, if he wants to just sit back and play defensively and passively, like Dread might steal some of his camps away because he likes to counter jungle. There's a lot of things that we talked about as why it's a stylistic mismatch. And it's not for one team, it's actually for both teams in a lot of ways. And in this series, the top lane has been the biggest weakness for Nongshim. See if we can maybe shore some of that up this time around.
Keen is, funnily enough, this season, he is 0-3 on Camille. And that's another thing to talk about, right? It's Afrika, a team that, we're taking a look at the top lane matchup stats as well so far for all the LCK. Dread is looking for a level 2 gank, and now Gory might be in a lot of trouble. A couple more autos will do it, and there you go. Level 2 Xin Zhao gank with red buff, the classic from solo queue, coming to this theater right now.
Yep. Blink and you'll miss it. Early game power from Fly here. In this case, trades up into Gory. then the kill pressure is there. And this is what I was talking about in terms of how the mid matchup could go if there was a Lucian, for example, in this same scenario where you don't have a lot of survivability. You at least have a dash, as Lucian in this case, but Peanut isn't going to offer the same amount of power until he hits level 6, whereas Dread from level 2 can put the threat on. Not only is it a kill, but it's flash advantage now for Fly. So Gory has lost both of his summoners here. Yeah, and this is a massive tempo advantage that you're going to have in the mid lane, as we'll watch it once more from Dread's perspective. He's like, I'm going in. Follow flashes. Boom. Third hit extended. Will take out the Irelia.
And that's not necessarily something you expect, even though it is fantastic gank assist on the Rise, who's level 2, and it is Xin Zhao with red buff. It's just something you don't see very often in pro play because it's a bit cheesy, right? If you mess up that gank, if you don't get some big objective out of it, like a flash at least, you're so far behind. He went red to mid, right? There's no other camps that he took. Peanut had 3 camps at the same time as him taking the gank. So if you miss the gank, it's really bad news. And so, yeah, they're very happy that it worked out. And that's part of the reason why, of course, Gory was not expecting it and didn't have a ward down there and was not able to react in time.
Definitely true. It's a very rare thing to see. Kind of a meme, you know, when you do see those level 2 ganks come through. But straight from solo queue, as you mentioned, but it works out in this particular case, utilizing the power of these solo lane matchups and the advantages you have at this stage of the game is something that Afrika has done well all 3 games. And this is going to be a free lane for Fly for quite some time now, which is just not something you really want to have if you're Nongshim as a Rise who's just sitting there soaking up minions.
Yeah, you're going to have that immense priority. Gory has to sit on his turret, basically, just because he doesn't have flash for another 2.5 minutes. And that can lead to some nice snowballing. As you mentioned, it's very good for your tempo, right? Because if you can roll this into more pressure into mid, get a bigger lead there, or maybe you get some kind of objective like an early Drake, definitely going to feel nice. Although for right now, the vision is great for Nongshim down on the bottom side river.
We'll see how this Herald goes too, because you know, this is one way where you can really snowball your lead as Nongshim if you end up getting control of that because you have mid prio, which isn't guaranteed in this matchup even with the kill, but it's something that is a lot easier now. And part of the reason why a lot of that vision went over to Nongshim on the bottom side of the river was because Kellen made a sweep around, was able to make sure there was no vision below Gory here, so he's not going to get dove while he's flashless. That was a really nice call. That's sometimes the duet's a little bit less than flawless.
It's just funny because the minion trolled him so hard.
Yeah.
Like the second he throws it out, the minion just dodges back and then comes right back to the range. It happens. Such is the way of AI. Kellen in a really awkward spot here. He's going to get comboed down. He is Leona, and he's trying to turn this one around, but maybe trying to bait his teammates in as he flashes away, and now Dread's getting in there, but they don't have the damage. Fly trying to pick it up, but Peanut trades one back at least. And now we have the teleport coming in here, but it's Rich at level 5. Which will dissuade them from diving any further, but doesn't pick up any kills himself.
Yeah, it does dissuade them, but he's going to lose his teleport for this, has to take the slow walk back. At least he's able to, get back to lane very quickly here, and the wave is in a pushed state to where he's not going to lose too much out of this, but very happy is Keen, who doesn't have to do anything for this. And yeah, it's a trade back of a kill, because Dread overextends a little bit, takes that extra turret shot, but they knew Gory didn't have flash, so they wanted to really push the issue. Ends up being pretty nice for Nongshim, all things considered, because that could have actually been a disaster after Kella decided to check there and was promptly punished. Still, a lot of control to the map goes to Afrika as a result of this. They're going to grab this scuttle. And with the bot pressure they have and all the wards they've now lined up, they're definitely going to be in pole position to be the ones to take the Drake itself. As watching this from Kellen, there's a little bit of mid-prio, but there's so much CC for Afrika that you have to respect it. I mean, all 4 of these champions are going to be happy when someone overextends. Dread's like, a little bit of happy feeding there, as he wanted to get another auto off there, but does end up taking a turret shot instead. Doesn't get the hit and does die for it, so it ends up being a 1-for-1. But if Afrika don't lose Dread, it's even better.
All right, trying now to get on top of this Ashe, who does not have flash. Musty used it in that last fight, so Peanut, very nice positioning there. They even had a control ward, Afrika did, down on the bottom side of the lane, but still, the Ashe just with no escape and no support.
And this is starting to feel like Peanut's playground a little bit here, getting this early gold, exactly what he's spent a lot of his season doing. A lot of it through farming, not through ganks, but now he's getting a little bit aggressive in this game, and if you get a Diana ahead, and if it's Peanut, it's a very terrifying thing to deal with. A little bit of trading here in the mid lane. As for the first time, yes, Keen does have a lead, but it's not a massive one. It's not multiple kills. It's not a snowball. He's not threatening plates here. So Rich is actually going to be a champion, and will be able to play the game this time, at least so far, which is quite critical because even though media voted for him last game, it was not the most impactful
Don't
Cannon
remind
game.
me, please.
But look, he did bait Afrika on that Baron push play when they decided to arrow and commit in and got wiped.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Are just going to run at the Rift Herald here. Afrika looking to collapse now, but it's a little bit too little too late. That's not the timing.
Yeah.
And now you can't force an engage. I mean, you can try. Okay, here we go. They're actually going to get in there, and you know what? They do have the damage, but Rich gets the huge flank, and they saw him coming, but now Leo and Lahen's over here. Gigantic Vanguard Zeds, though, as Gory is getting into that backline and looking to hunt everybody down. He'll pick up 2, make it a 3rd. That goes the way of Rich, and Nongshim are able to turn that one on a dime.
Everything about this is a disaster for Afrika. You come in very late. You know, even though there's only one place that Nongshim could be grouped up on, you decide to go for the contest, and you do have good ultimates to skirmish, but not when you're this far, or not when they're that far away. As we'll watch this pick, unfortunately, onto Leo. Once again, Peanut's hidden there in the brush. Control ward goes down, like, and Peanut will get the kill here. A lot of extra gold going over to him, but before the fight even starts, the Herald is taken, and they still commit in. Yes, it's a choke point, and Dread does have that 3rd knockup hit to come in, and yes, you do get a pick. But this is a choke point for Slicing Maelstrom. How many times in the LCK am I going to watch Slicing Maelstrom in this choke point defensively for blue team against red team who's trying to walk through the choke? It's just insane.
And Vanguard's Edge, too. I mean, they ran straight into it. And,
이거거든.
If you lose,
바텀 웨이브.
if you lose control of the Rift Herald in this case, even though you have a comp that can skirmish extremely well, you don't have to force it. Sometimes you have to cut your losses, and it would be really unfortunate to just go, wow, we all rotated over and lost the Rift Herald and didn't get any kills. But now add, and also gave several kills to Nongshim. When you commit into that choke, that's exactly what Nongshim wants.
Yeah, that's not the place or time to do it. If Nongshim were caught and they were split up, and they didn't have a phalanx in a, they had a concave literally in the perfect choke for Kennen and Aurelia. And it was the most forced fight we've seen all season. Like, you can't be doing that. Got to make better trades and not fall into that sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You know, the sunk cost fallacy is something that players have to, unfortunately, break through sometimes. And this is one of those moments where you feel like you give up way too much if you just walk away. And the potential is so tempting. And it is a good comp for fights like that. But you just have to remember the Vanguard's Edge and the Slicing Maelstrom in that choke.
And they did blow up Peanut immediately. Like, he did nothing. But, it's just the follow-up that we already discussed. So, kind of rough. Kind of rough for Afrika. They started off so strong, but now it feels like Nongshim have immediately grabbed hold of the control of this series. And you got Gory fed now once again. He got ganked, remember, at about 3 minutes. He's not feeling that too much right now.
Nope. He's got his flash back up, and they hold a teleport. They're going to have Rich's teleport up here in a moment, so there's not even a teleport disadvantage where Afrika can try to look for something. And the Rift Herald is held at the moment. We'll see where that ends up getting dropped. See a rotation up here. Looks like they're going to try to collapse onto Keen. This is where things can really start to go awry. You limit Keen's power, then his split pushing becomes a lot weaker. I really like the respect that Afrika are showing.
Trying to get on top of Kellen here. No respect for him as he does have a flash. And now here comes the follow-up. The stopwatch to try to bait them in. And Afrika have taken nobody down as Duckdom chases them. And everybody else on the side of Nongshim is extremely low. Duckdom not able to pick up the kill. And now they'll look for the turn. But look at the zoning coming out from the volleys from Leo. Rich makes his way in finally, but he has no flash and cannot force an engage.
Extremely aggressive trade between teams here. Teleports used on both sides, but the Rift Herald will still drop down. The reality is, though, that it's only going to be a charge, not going to be the full turret. You end up making a successful play up there, kill Keen, and grab the whole turret. It's a massive lead. It's a really nice response from Afrika. They don't trade back any kills. They don't actually take any advantages from this, but they limit the power of this push because this could have been a lot worse. They show a lot of respect of this rotation. They want to make sure that Keen does not end up getting collapsed on, dying, loses his turret, because then he's just not going to be a force for a really long time in this game. Kellen's stopwatch here as well is so beautiful. I mean, it's not the first time in this best of 5 where he's walked forward and stopwatch set up for his team to follow up. Dread just barely gets out. One more auto would have done it. His Q was like 2 seconds away, maybe on an older patch. That would have been a kill.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
100%.
but you know, we're not on that patch, not today.
Yeah. Ice is still being played as we do not have Unbreakable Will. We do have Flash, but Lehens sticks around and says, nope, guys, I'm dead. I'm sorry, I got caught. And this time around, Kellen face-checking that brush. He's going to have a little bit more information this time around, so not so much of a face-check, actually. And it ends up being a nice little play to catch out Lehens.
Yeah, it was like a chase check. He's like, anybody sticking around? I don't think so. As he's going to do some nice hold positions there to taunt his opponents for a moment, as this top matchup is now in favor of Rich. He's now in control of the Kennen versus Camille, which is never where you want to be as the Camille. Yes, Camille up a level here, but with the items that Rich has, he can duel, he can trade. Q's buffed, you know, on this patch, or on the previous patch, but it obviously didn't get reverted. So that's really, really strong right now. As this pick onto Lehens does require Peanut to ult, but absolutely worth it. A lot of vision control around the bottom side of the map right before the Drake. 30 seconds on that. They can reset and group up. Right now, Keen, all he's got going for him, unfortunately, is a teleport advantage. But Rich just doesn't have to leave.
Yeah.
It's not a good look.
This comp from Afrika, especially as the game comes along, 1-3-1's not exactly the easiest comps to pull off. I like how Nongshim have mainly been committing to, yes, while they do have some split push potential, it's just been mostly team fight comps, and it's coming along finally. I'm a little bit worried for Afrika playing from behind with the split push comp. They're not out of this game just yet, but it's a pretty significant early lead here to Nongshim. As at 15 minutes just about, it's over 3,000 gold.
And I mean, taking this Rift Herald or starting this is just not realistic, unfortunately, at this stage. Thanks for the leash. Do you make the same mistake of all-inning on this fight as well? Once more as Afrika, sunk cost fallacy. I'm going to look for the smite fight at least, but don't actually commit in. Well, I think every Afrika fan was holding the breath potentially there for a second, as they do not engage, now are grouped up for the Drake, which is a realistic fight to take. Uh-oh.
Interrupts the hook shot, and oh man, he's really pushing in there as Rich. He was considering it, but doesn't have a whole lot of vision, and he probably would have just gotten flashed away from by Keen, but still, he's able to push him out of the wave already.
Yeah, and Afrika are going to group for this Drake. Nongshim, unfortunately, didn't have anybody nearby. This is a little bit... It's a little bit unfortunate here for Nongshim because they definitely could have pushed the issue on this a lot more. Peanut was farming the top side of the jungle. Their reset timing on the bot duo was not great for this.
It's just that with that teleport that Rich doesn't have, I guess, they didn't want to hold themselves into a 5v4 fight if Keen backs and gets back in there. But
on the other hand, though, like I feel like if Keen does you could group, and if Keen does teleport, you just kind of disengage, and then Rich gets tons of value topside, and Keen loses his teleport. You will get the Drake, but that's the end result either way.
Yeah, or Rich takes the trade and he immediately starts running towards the Drake, and you threaten that. You know, you stop them from taking the Drake 4v4 until the teleport comes out, and maybe you can buy some time for Rich to come down.
Yeah, I mean, we're the eagle-eye view observers over here,
yeah.
So it's really easy for us to criticize that, but I feel like that definitely didn't have to happen that way, and Afrika kind of get away with murder here, essentially, by just walking over to the Drake and taking it. Now they have a 2-Drake advantage. They're one away from Soul Point, as Rich is threatening the trades. He has his Rocket Belt now and a stopwatch. He's hitting his spike so early. To get the stopwatch and the Rocket Belt on one buy here because he's just so fed is kind of insane. If they had if they were tied in Drakes, you'd feel even better about this. That to get this stopwatch spike where you're not really going to be 5v5 team fighting, isn't as great. You know, if you were actually going into a fight right now, you feel amazing about this, especially because Peanut hits those same spikes at the same time. You have insane combo potential, but Afrika still have a lot more time because they get away with that second Drake.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have the Rift Herald thrown down here from Nongshim, trying to push their gold advantage. And they're just going to essentially force Afrika to group up and stop the push, which is, again, very good for Nongshim. That's what they'll look to do.
Look at Peanut's positioning, too, in the control ward they have. They're basically saying, Wolf, I mean, who says we can't 5v5 fight with no objectives up? They have Afrika walk towards us.
Oh, this arrow.
There it goes.
Flies on by. And now you can see Peanut are like, yeah, sure, let's go. Kellen's getting in there. As Rich gets isolated down on the bottom side. Lahen's a big knock up here, and Rich, he's just trying to run away, but has help from Duckdom. We got 2 fights here as Kellen will go down, but that's fine, they say. Duckdom zoned out a little bit, but the rest of his team is winning the fight on the top side. As Dread is getting extremely low. Pretty nice stopwatch, thinking that Fly and Keen could come up, and here we go. They're thinking about it, but they will not take that one. That would have been a disaster.
Yeah, that would have been a slam dunk for Nongshim, in fact, but that was still a great proactive play from Nongshim. They have the stopwatch advantage for the cannon. They have Peanut with the stopwatch advantage, like we were talking about. And I was saying, well, it's a shame there's no objective, but if you push the Rift Herald in, have control ward vision control, and actually push the issues that deep into the jungle, you can set up for a fight like that. And despite the heroics of Afrika, like Lahen's knockup was insane, just still not enough. And the engage from Kellen was not perfect, but you know, he does go in and has to flash. But I mean, arrow missing here means they're ready to go. There's just no reason not to fight here as Nongshim. You have such a good position to use your combos. And yes, Kellen's engage isn't perfect. Rich is isolated. This is what I was talking about with Hextech Ultimatum. But look at Peanut. He's like, no, this is actually great. Rich has that stopwatch I was talking about, so he survives. And Fly's trying to flank here, but Duckdom is too survivable. You could turn on him so easily. This is using an advantage to its fullest with the items, the item spike they have. No Drake, no Rift Herald, no Baron, but we can force a fight in their jungle.
Yeah, they're able to get it done. Afrika, they were also like, okay, let's drop the gloves, let's get on in there. And now we're having 2 members get up on top of the Aurelia, even the teleport committed to here. So 4 members of Afrika gonna attempt to take down Gory, but the stun comes in. Can he do anything? The answer will be no, but look at the bottom side. Keen also gonna get isolated on the opposite side of the map, and you feed your Diana even more.
And they're getting value in all 3 lanes. The delay there from Gory on the top side of the map. You get a push from Duckdom in mid. Oh, this is desperate. And there's a scuttle here, so they see it. Well, they should have.
It really comes down to if they have enough damage. Peanut very out of position to try to get here on time. Duckdom, he's got his ultimate though, the Killer Instinct. He's considering it. As here comes the team, the teleport comes over. Peanut gets over on time, but it still goes over to the side of Afrika, who are now attempting to get out on the Realm Warp, but it gets denied. The stun comes in. And again, it's going to be one of these fights where, yes, they will kill the Leona, but that will be it. You take the Baron off of the map. Dread tries to trade one back, but he cannot. And 4 of you will go down.
Yeah, this is not realistic to take as Afrika, but you're so desperate at this point. You're down so much gold. You have no control over the map. You see an opportunity on the Baron, and you know Peanut's far away. And even though they have the Rift Scuttle there, and you walk through the vision, you feel like, okay, well, I've got to try something. Maybe we can take a fight where we turn. Maybe they trickle in. And it was just not to be the case. Nongshim handled it so patiently. So at this moment, look at the map. They end up trading 1 for 1 because Keen dies, and Duckdom is pushing mid for free. So then you're like, well, we're grouped up top. We can't push anything else, so let's go Baron. It's a smart call when you consider the advantages positionally you have, but when you consider the composition that you're running, I mean, this is an Ashe. You can't really rush this down. And even though they get the smite, Lahen's is basically dead before this fight starts.
Look at the stun.
Yeah, that's stun to interrupt the Realm Warp. Peanut's there on the other side too, with ultimate, by the way. You take that out, and it's still not a happy ending. Probably more people survive, but at the end of the day, this gamble does not pay off.
좋았다, 덕.
It was good.
Good job, Duckdom.
Oh, so that's why he said duck.
Alternate translation could be that he really liked the rice cakes he ate earlier. But in this context,
I suppose.
He's talking about Duckdom.
And yeah, I mean, take a look. 4-0-8. The guy has been clean a couple of games in a row. And he's not the only one this time around either. As everybody's getting on the hype train here for the side of Nongshim. A very slow start in this series. Maybe it is, you know, metaphorical for the way that they play, right?
Yeah.
This is, you know, it takes them a little while to get on their feet, but once they do, then they come out strong here.
And the big difference in this game is the top matchup, right? Like, Rich got so ahead.
Oh, look, Dread's right here, but Gory's still fine to try to take this fight. The root comes down, and Gory just doesn't have vision. I think he could have potentially pushed that even further, but decides not to. Doesn't have to.
Doesn't have to,
Better
but
way.
yeah, but I mean, they can set up for something when Rich arrives, and he is here, and he does have Flash, he does have Azonias.
Yep.
You have to let this turret go. You can't even be near it. I do appreciate Keen pushing this, because that's all you can really hope for right now on the map. But Nongshim are just not going to let this game go. They've grabbed on tight to it. And the only thing that could have been better for them, I feel like, this game is letting that second Drake go without contesting. If they took that, you know, they'd be one step closer to this Mountain Soul, but they just have so much pressure on the map. And they have, I mean, with Rich and Peanut, this Fed, if you get on top of a Freak of Freaks, they will not last.
Arrow goes wide, and they're easily able to just walk into the Crescent Guard. Lahen's no engage. Kellen might die again, but here we go, the wombo combo. Press all your ults and get the job done. Penta, maybe. Duck Tom is looking for it. Gory trying to get it done. The flash forward. He's got a stopwatch. They don't want to take the kills away. Remember, guys, that you need to win the series as well. As it doesn't matter, they're going to ace them here. Only Kellen dies again, poor guy. But it doesn't matter because Nongshim will win the game.
Nongshim, absolutely fantastic third game. First two, a bit of a rough start, but in this one, you get ahead early with a cannon. You limit the Camille's ability to split push. There are a few other errors on the map for a Freak of Freaks, and despite a 2-Drake lead, I mean,
They definitely could have ended the game there.
I think so.
It was like 13 seconds on the second guy that wasn't Alistair.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But look at this fight. Dread is just desperately trying to frontline here. And then, yeah, Keen comes in. The dodge was real on that hook shot. And then Peanut's like, what's up? It's time for the combo. And everybody goes in. This is exactly how they've been drafting all three games, but I think this is by far the best version. And Dread isn't able to do the same with this Xinjiao pick against this style of play when they're this far behind as a Sejuani could. But that wasn't the point. The point was to try to get a tempo advantage for his top laner early, his mid laner early, which he did. But they weren't able to control the game from there. And I mean, that was the sad moment for Dread where he's like, I'll handle this, but he can't. He's Xinjiao this time.
Yeah. And, yeah, I mean, playing this comp as a Freaka from behind means that all of your side lane pressure is kind of just a joke, right? I mean, we mentioned how Aurelia can do a nice amount of side laning as well, but Nongshim are so far ahead that they don't even need to respect it. They just push down the mid lane. And Freaka, if they lose Keen to a side lane, they're just going to lose the game. Yep. So you get into this stuck between a rock and a hard place in this game, and it's not a good feeling. Down 10,000 gold. Keen desperate to get any more items here in this game.
Just looking at the spread of kills, it's insane how much of a team effort this has been for Nongshim. If you look at the kill involvement for every single player, it's insanely high. When you see how this comp works together and how Nongshim use that small advantage they get to control those follow-up team fights, it's beautiful. And Ducktom is really well and truly online this time. Last time in Game 2, he was the savior. He was the one who actually kept the team together and had the great fights. This time he's just doing his job, and it looks great as Dread.
Oh boy. Well,
yikes!
You decided that maybe we can enter the blind forest. Nope, you can't. Only Ori can do that. She's not in this game. And you know what? I mean, they're desperate at this point. Afrika are trying to find anything. Peanut's going to go in, trying to open up a path for Duckdom to get some more kills. As Bly is doing a nice amount of damage here, but he's kind of all alone. Keen has to run away. And Lahens will just be poked down by Rich, of all people, as down will go Fly. And now Nongshim decide, now we will end the game.
They just look for the kill here onto Keen before they take the Nexus down. That's all they've got left. Sad present from Kellen. They won't get Keen, but they will take